I almost dropped my phone when Austin asked me to pretend to be his boyfriend. Not because I had never imagined Austin and me together. That would be a lie. I had imagined it more times than I cared to admit. The problem was that Austin was straight, or at least he had always told me he was. And now he was standing in my apartment kitchen on a Thursday evening, staring at me like he was about to ask me for a huge favor. "Carter, I need you to do something for me." I looked up from my laptop. That sentence has never ended well. He laughed, but it was nervous laughter. Usually Austin could walk into a room and make himself comfortable in about 5 seconds. He was confident without being arrogant, the kind of guy who could talk to a stranger in an elevator and somehow leave with their life story. Tonight, though, he kept rubbing the back of his neck. "What did you do?" "Nothing." That sounded suspicious. "I didn't do anything." I closed my laptop. "Okay, what's going on?" Austin leaned against the counter and looked at the floor for a second. "My parents are having dinner Saturday." "Okay." "My whole family is going to be there." "Still okay." "My sister is bringing her fiancé." I waited. Austin sighed. "And my parents are going to spend the entire night asking me why I'm still single." I smiled. "That sounds like a you problem." "It is." "Glad we established that." He gave me an annoyed look, but there was a smile trying to break through it. Then he said, "I need you to come with me." I blinked. "Why?" "As my date." I stared at him. He stared back. For a few seconds, neither of us said anything. Then I laughed. Not because it was funny. Mostly because I had no idea what else to do. "You're serious." "Unfortunately." "Austin, you know I'm gay, right?" "Yeah." "And you're straight." He said it automatically, like he had said it 100 times before. Something in my chest sank, even though I had expected the answer. "Right," I said. He looked uncomfortable. "It's not what you think." "I haven't thought anything yet." "You're thinking something." "I'm thinking my straight friend just asked me to be his boyfriend for dinner." "Not boyfriend." "Date." "Yeah." "That's somehow more confusing." He laughed quietly. Then his expression changed. "Carter, please." That stopped me. Austin almost never said please. Not like that. He came around the counter and pulled out the chair opposite me. "My mom has been on my case for months. She thinks I'm secretly miserable because I'm single. My sister keeps trying to set me up with people. My dad keeps making jokes about me being married by 30. And you want to bring your gay best friend to dinner to convince them you're dating?" When you say it like that, it sounds insane. Because it is insane. I know. I studied him. There was something strange about the whole situation, but there was also something about the way he was looking at me, almost like he was afraid I'd say no. "Why me?" I finally asked. Austin looked away. "You're the only person I'd trust to do this." That answer hit harder than it should have. I tried to make a joke. "Wow, I'm touched." "I'm serious." "So am I." He smiled. Then he reached across the table and nudged my hand. "Come on, Carter. One dinner." I should have said no. I knew that, because I had spent years trying not to fall for Austin. We met during our first year of college. He was the loud, outgoing guy who somehow became friends with everyone. I was quieter, happier keeping to myself. Somehow we became inseparable. Movie nights turned into weekend trips. Weekend trips turned into late-night conversations. And somewhere along the way, I realized I was in love with him. I never told him. What would have been the point? Austin dated women. He talked about women. He had never given me a reason to believe he saw me as anything except his best friend. So I buried it. I got good at pretending. At least I thought I had. "Fine," I said. Austin's face immediately brightened. Really? One dinner. You're the best. He stood up and pulled me into a hug. It was completely normal. At least it should have been. But Austin held on a little longer than usual. His arms were around my shoulders and my cheek was against his chest. I could hear him laughing softly. "Thank you," he said. I swallowed. "Yeah, whatever." He finally let go. Then he looked at me. "There's one more thing." I immediately regretted agreeing. "What?" "We have to make it believable." I raised an eyebrow. "How believable?" "Pretty believable." "Austin, I mean, my family knows I'm affectionate when I'm dating someone." "Since when?" He shrugged. "I don't know. Since always? You literally hate holding hands." "Not with someone I'm dating." I stared at him. He stared back. Then he smiled. "See? You're already learning." I laughed nervously. "This is going to be a disaster." "Probably. And if your family figures out I'm actually gay?" "They already know you're gay." I paused. "What?" Austin looked confused. "Carter, I've brought you around my family for years. They know." "That is somehow worse." He laughed. I shook my head and reopened my laptop. "Fine. Saturday." "Saturday." He started toward the door. Then he stopped. "Oh, and Carter?" "Yeah?" "Wear something nice." I looked at him. "You're asking me to dress up?" "My mom is going to judge us." "Us?" Austin smiled. "Yeah." And then he left. I sat there staring at the closed door. My heart was beating way too fast. It was only dinner. One night. One fake date with my straight best friend. Nothing could possibly happen. At least, that's what I told myself. I had no idea that by the end of that weekend, I would start questioning everything I thought I knew about Austin, and especially what he thought he knew about himself. Saturday came way too quickly. By 6 o'clock, I had changed shirts 3 times. I finally settled on a dark blue button-down and jeans, then stood in front of my mirror, wondering if I looked like someone going to a family dinner or someone desperately trying to impress his straight best friend. Probably both. My phone buzzed. Austin. Outside. I looked out the window. His car was parked at the curb. I grabbed my jacket and headed downstairs. When I opened the building door, Austin was standing beside his car. And for a second, I forgot how to speak. He was wearing dark trousers and a fitted charcoal shirt with the sleeves rolled to his forearms. His hair was slightly messy, like he'd run his hands through it one too many times. He looked good. Annoyingly good. His eyes moved over me. Then he smiled. "Wow." "What?" "You actually listened." "To what?" "I told you to look nice." I looked down at myself. This is nice. I know. There was something about the way he said it that made me uncomfortable. Not bad uncomfortable, just aware. I opened the passenger door. "Are you getting in?" "Yeah." He walked around the car. As soon as we pulled away from the curb, I noticed something strange. Austin was quiet. Not normal quiet. Nervous quiet. "You okay?" "Yeah." "You're driving like you're taking a driving test." He laughed. "I'm just thinking." "About?" He glanced at me. "Tonight?" I looked out the window. "You don't have to worry. I'll play along." "I know." "You've got nothing to be nervous about." "That's not what I'm nervous about." I turned toward him. "What then?" He didn't answer immediately. His fingers tightened around the steering wheel. "Nothing." I let it go. His parents lived about 40 minutes outside the city in a quiet neighborhood with large houses and perfectly trimmed lawns. I'd been there plenty of times before, but tonight felt different. Maybe because I knew what role I was supposed to play. When we pulled into the driveway, Austin turned off the engine. Neither of us moved. So, I said. So, ready? He nodded. Then he reached across the center console. His hand landed on mine. I froze. Austin looked at our hands, then at me. This okay? I swallowed. Yeah. His thumb moved once across the back of my hand. A tiny gesture. Probably meaningless. Except it wasn't meaningless to me. He pulled his hand away. Let's go. We walked toward the house. Before we reached the door, Austin stopped. Wait. What? He looked at me. My mom is going to ask questions. I figured. She might ask how we got together. Okay. And she might ask who made the first move. I laughed. You're seriously planning a fake relationship backstory? I had to. You're unbelievable. He grinned. I said you were stubborn. I am stubborn. And that you hate romantic movies. I do. And that you were the one who asked me out. I stared at him. Why am I the one who asked you? Because nobody would believe I asked you. That is incredibly insulting. Sorry. He wasn't sorry. I could see it in his smile. Then the front door opened. Austin's mother stepped outside. There you are. She hugged Austin, then immediately looked at me. Carter. Hi, Mrs. Miller. She smiled warmly. Come in. Everyone's waiting. Austin placed a hand against my lower back. Just for a second. But I felt it. I felt everything. Inside, the house was louder than I remembered. His father was in the dining room talking with Austin's sister, Emily, and her fiancé. 2 of Austin's cousins were sitting in the living room arguing about football. Then everyone noticed us. Austin's mother smiled. So this is Carter. His father stood. Good to finally meet you properly. Good to see you again. Emily walked over and hugged me. Then she looked at Austin. So you're the mystery man? I laughed awkwardly. Austin didn't. He just slipped an arm around my shoulders. Yep. Emily raised an eyebrow. Wow. What? Austin asked. Nothing. She smiled, but there was something in her expression that made me suspicious. Dinner started normally. Too normally. For the first 20 minutes, I almost forgot the whole thing was fake. We talked about work, college, Emily's upcoming wedding. Austin's dad complained about his golf game. His mother asked me about my apartment. Then came the question I had been waiting for. So, his mother said, looking between us, how long has this been going on? I nearly choked on my water. Austin immediately answered. About 3 months. His mother's eyes widened. 3 months? Yeah. You didn't tell me. I wanted to make sure it was serious. Under the table, Austin's knee touched mine. I looked at him. He gave me the tiniest smile. Then his mother looked at me. And how did you 2 meet? Austin glanced at me. This was apparently my cue. We've known each other for years, I said. We were friends first. His father nodded. That makes sense. Emily leaned forward. So who made the first move? I looked at Austin. Austin looked at me. Then he smiled. Carter. Everyone laughed. I kicked him lightly under the table. He barely reacted. His mother smiled. I knew it. You knew what? That Austin would eventually fall for someone who wasn't impressed by him. The table laughed again. I smiled. But Austin didn't. He was staring at me. And for some reason, the joke seemed to hit him differently. Later, when everyone moved into the living room for coffee, I found myself alone in the kitchen. I was pouring myself another drink when Austin walked in. You survived. Barely. He laughed. You did great. Your family is terrifying. They like you. They barely know me. My mom already likes you. I turned around. Austin was standing much closer than he needed to be. That's good. Yeah. Neither of us moved. Then he said quietly, "Thanks for doing this." I smiled. "You're welcome." He nodded, but instead of leaving, he stayed there. His eyes moved over my face. Then he said something that caught me completely off guard. "You know what's weird?" "What?" "This doesn't feel fake." I stopped breathing for a second. Austin seemed to realize what he'd said. His expression changed. "Forget I said that." He stepped backward. I stared at him. "Austin." He looked at me. "What?" "What did you mean?" He didn't answer. From the living room, his sister called his name. Austin looked toward the doorway, then back at me. "I don't know." And he walked away. I stood there alone in the kitchen, listening to everyone laughing in the other room. One sentence kept replaying in my head. This doesn't feel fake. And for the first time that night, I wondered if maybe Austin hadn't asked me to dinner just to fool his family. Maybe he'd been trying to fool himself. The next morning, I woke up thinking about one sentence. This doesn't feel fake. I hated how much those words had gotten into my head, because there were only two possibilities. Either Austin had said it without thinking, or he meant something by it. And neither option was particularly good for me. I had spent years making sure I didn't cross a line with him. I never flirted too obviously. I never let myself get jealous when he dated someone. I never confessed the truth. I'd learned to live with being his friend. So hearing him say that our fake relationship didn't feel fake was like someone suddenly moving the ground underneath me. I didn't see him Sunday. I figured that was probably for the best. By Monday afternoon, though, I had received 3 texts from him. "Austin, you busy tonight?" I stared at the message. Me. "Depends." Austin. "On what?" Me. "Whether you're asking me to pretend to be your boyfriend again?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Austin. "I wasn't going to." Me. "Then why are you asking?" No answer. A minute later. Austin. "Can I come over?" I sighed. Me. "Sure." He arrived 20 minutes later. The moment I opened the door, I knew something was wrong. He wasn't smiling. He walked inside, dropped his keys on the counter, and sat on the couch. I closed the door. "Okay." He looked at me. "Okay, what?" "You look like someone just died." He rubbed his face. I think I screwed up. My stomach tightened. "What happened?" "My mom." "What about her?" "She called me this morning." "And?" "She asked about you." I sat beside him. "That's not exactly a disaster." "She thinks we're actually together." I stared at him. "Well." He looked at me. "That's what we wanted her to think?" "Yeah." "So what's the problem?" He was quiet. Then he said, "I don't know." That answer was becoming a pattern. I leaned back. "Austin, if this is about Saturday, you don't have to worry. We did the dinner. Your family believed us. We can just go back to normal." "Do you want that?" I looked at him. "What?" "Normal." He was watching me carefully. I didn't know what answer he wanted. Of course, it came out automatically. Austin nodded, but he didn't look convinced. Right. Something about his reaction annoyed me. "What do you want me to say?" "Nothing." "No, you keep doing this." "Doing what?" "Saying things and then pretending you didn't say them." He looked away. I continued. "You said it didn't feel fake." He went completely still. "I remember." "Then what did you mean?" He didn't answer. I stood up and walked toward the kitchen. "Forget it." "Carter." I stopped. He got up. "I don't know what I mean." "That isn't an answer." "I know." He ran both hands through his hair. "Saturday was weird." "Yeah." "Not bad weird." "I know." When I put my arm around you. I turned around. He stopped. What? He shook his head. Nothing. No, finish. He looked at me. When I put my arm around you, it felt natural. My heart started pounding. Austin, I know what you're thinking. Do you? He nodded. You think I'm suddenly questioning everything. Are you? He stared at the floor. I don't know. There it was. The answer I had secretly wanted for years. And somehow, hearing it didn't make me happy. It scared me. Because Austin wasn't somebody I wanted to experiment with. He wasn't a stranger. He wasn't some random guy I could forget the next morning. He was my best friend. If you're confused, I said carefully, you don't have to figure it out with me. His eyes snapped toward mine. What does that mean? It means you don't owe me anything. I know. And I'm not going to be some experiment because you had one weird weekend. His expression tightened. I don't see you as an experiment. Then what do you see me as? Silence. Austin stepped closer. I don't know. I laughed once, but there wasn't anything funny about it. That's exactly the problem. He looked hurt. I immediately regretted saying it. Then he said quietly, Can I tell you something? Sure. I've been thinking about you. I swallowed. Since when? Before Saturday. That surprised me. How long? He hesitated. A few weeks. I stared at him. What happened a few weeks ago? He shrugged. Nothing. Austin. He sighed. Remember when we went out with Jake and his girlfriend? Yeah. You were talking to that guy at the bar. I remembered. You mean Daniel? I guess. You were there. I know. I looked at him. You were acting weird that night. Yeah. Why? His jaw tightened. Because I didn't like him. I almost laughed. You don't even know him. I know. That doesn't make sense. I know. He looked frustrated with himself. I saw him flirting with you and it bothered me. I couldn't speak. Austin continued. I told myself it was because I was worried he'd hurt you. And? And then I realized I was jealous. The room went completely quiet. My heart was pounding so hard it felt impossible that he couldn't hear it. Austin, I don't know what that means yet. I nodded slowly. Okay. But I know I don't want you dating him. That isn't your decision. I know. And I don't want you making decisions for me because you're confused. I know. He took another step toward me. But I also don't want to pretend Saturday didn't happen. I looked into his eyes. For the first time, I saw something I had never seen there before. Fear. Not fear of me. Fear of what he might be feeling. Then his phone rang. He looked down. His mother's name was on the screen. He ignored it. A few seconds later, it rang again. He finally answered. Hey, Mom. I watched his expression change. He listened, then glanced at me. Tonight? Another pause. Yeah, we can come. My eyes widened. Austin hung up. What? He gave me an awkward smile. My mom invited us to dinner tomorrow. I stared at him. Us? Us. You're kidding. No. And she thinks we're dating. Yeah. I shook my head. This is getting out of control. Austin smiled faintly. Probably. Then he looked at me in a way that made my stomach twist. But maybe that's not such a bad thing. And that was the moment I realized something. Whatever had started at that family dinner wasn't going to disappear when the night ended. It was only getting started. Tuesday evening, I almost canceled. Not because I didn't want to see Austin. That was exactly the problem. I wanted to see him too much. I stood in front of my closet for 10 minutes, trying to decide what to wear, then reminded myself that this was supposed to be another family dinner. Nothing more. Still, I changed twice. When Austin arrived, he was wearing a simple black sweater and jeans. He looked at me for a second when I opened the door. "You look good." "So do you." "Thanks." There was an awkward pause. Then he smiled. "You ready?" "Not remotely." "Same." We drove to his parents' house in mostly comfortable silence. About halfway there, Austin spoke. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "If my mom asks whether we're serious?" I looked at him. "What? What should I say?" I laughed. "You're the one who started this." "I know." "You tell her whatever you want." He nodded. After a moment, he said, "What if I don't want to lie?" My smile disappeared. "Austin, I mean it." I stared out the window. "You need to figure out what you want before you start saying things like that." "I know." "Because I don't want to get hurt." He was quiet. Then he said, "I know that too." We arrived a few minutes later. This time, his mother opened the door before we even knocked. "There you are." She hugged Austin, then pulled me inside. "I've been waiting for you two." Austin smiled. "Hi, Mom." She looked between us. "You boys are becoming a regular team." I tried not to react. Dinner was less formal than Saturday. There were only Austin's parents, Emily, and us. For the first half hour, everything was normal. Then Emily started asking questions. "So, Carter." I looked at her. "Yeah? How long have you been in love with my brother?" I nearly dropped my fork. Austin froze. His mother looked shocked. "Emily." "What? You can't just ask that." Emily shrugged. I was curious. I glanced at Austin. He wasn't laughing. Neither was I. Finally, I said, "That's a complicated question." Emily smiled. "Interesting answer." Austin cleared his throat. "Can we change the subject?" She looked at him. "Sure." But I could tell she wasn't convinced. A few minutes later, she excused herself to help her mother in the kitchen. Austin leaned toward me. "She knows." "Knows what?" "I don't know." "That doesn't make me feel better." He smiled slightly. "I think she likes you." "That's great." "It is." Then his hand appeared beneath the table. His fingers touched mine. I looked down. He didn't move away. Instead, he quietly laced his fingers through mine. My entire body went still. I looked at him. He was staring straight ahead. "You okay?" he whispered. "Yeah." His thumb brushed over my knuckle. It was such a small gesture, but I couldn't remember the last time I'd felt so nervous around him. After dinner, his parents went into the living room. Emily disappeared upstairs. Austin and I ended up alone in the kitchen again. He leaned against the counter. I stood opposite him. Neither of us spoke. Finally, he said, "I meant what I said yesterday." "What part?" "That I don't think this is fake anymore." I swallowed. "Austin, you're still calling yourself straight." "I know. And I'm gay." "I know. So what are we doing?" He looked at me. "I don't know." I almost smiled. There's that answer again. He gave a nervous laugh. "I'm working on it." I looked down. "You don't have to rush." "I know." "But you also can't keep pulling me closer and then acting like nothing is happening." "I won't." I looked up. "You promise?" He nodded. "I promise." Then he stepped closer. Not touching me, just close enough that I could feel his warmth. I've spent the last few weeks trying to understand why I care so much about what you think of me. I didn't say anything, and every time I try to convince myself it's just friendship, something happens. "Like what?" "Like Saturday." I smiled faintly. "Saturday was just dinner." "No." His voice was quiet. It wasn't. My heart jumped. He looked down at my hand, then back at my eyes. Can I ask you something? Yeah. Do you actually want me? I couldn't breathe for a second. There was no point lying anymore. I've wanted you for a long time. His expression changed, not shock, something softer. How long? Years. He exhaled slowly. Why didn't you ever tell me? Because you were straight? He nodded. I thought I was. The words hung between us. Then he reached for my hand. This time, there was nothing accidental about it. His fingers closed around mine. I let him. He looked at our hands. I don't know what this makes me. You don't have to label it tonight. I know. He looked back at me. But I know I don't want to stop. Before I could answer, we heard footsteps. We both stepped apart. Emily appeared in the doorway. She looked at us, then at our hands, then smiled. Oh. Austin immediately dropped my hand. Emily raised an eyebrow. Relax. I'm not telling Mom. Emily. She laughed. I knew it. Knew what? That this wasn't just fake. She walked away before either of us could respond. Austin looked at me. I looked at him. And somehow, despite everything, we both started laughing. But later, when he drove me home, neither of us laughed. At my apartment, he parked at the curb. I reached for the door. Carter. I turned. He was looking at me. Tomorrow night. What about it? Can I take you somewhere? I smiled. Like another fake date? He shook his head. No. His voice was quiet. A real one. I stared at him. He smiled nervously. I don't know exactly what I'm doing yet. That makes two of us. But I want to find out. I nodded. Okay. Austin smiled. Okay. I opened the door. Before I got out, he said one more thing. And Carter? Yeah? Don't call it fake anymore. I looked at him. He was completely serious. For the first time since all of this began, I believed him. I didn't sleep much that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I thought about Austin's hand around mine, then his voice. Don't call it fake anymore. It was the kind of sentence that could ruin a person's ability to think rationally. By morning, I'd convinced myself to take things slowly. Austin had admitted he was confused. That didn't mean he was suddenly ready for a relationship. It didn't mean he was secretly gay. It didn't even necessarily mean he was attracted to me. It meant he was figuring something out, and I wasn't going to pressure him. At around noon, my phone buzzed. Austin. Still on for tonight? I smiled. Me. You invited me, remember? Austin. Just checking. Me. Where are we going? He didn't answer for several minutes. Then, Austin. You'll see. That was very Austin. At 7, he picked me up. This time, there was no nervous family dinner waiting for us. He had planned an actual date. He took me to a small restaurant downtown that I'd mentioned liking months earlier. I had completely forgotten I'd told him about it. He hadn't. We got a table near the window. For the first few minutes, everything felt strangely normal. We talked about work. We made fun of the people at the table beside us. Austin stole one of my fries. I complained. He stole another. It was exactly what we'd always done. Except now there was something underneath it, something neither of us could ignore. Halfway through dinner, Austin put his fork down. I've been thinking. I smiled. He rolled his eyes. Seriously? Okay. He took a breath. I talked to someone today. Who? My sister. He laughed. She asked me if I was attracted to you. I nearly choked on my drink. She what? She said she'd already figured out that something was going on. I stared at him. What did you say? I said I didn't know. That answer didn't surprise me. What did she say? She told me I don't need to figure everything out at once. I nodded. That sounds reasonable. Then she asked me another question. What? Whether I'd be okay if you started dating someone else. I went quiet. And? I wasn't. My heart sank and lifted at the same time. Austin. I know. He looked frustrated. I know how this sounds. How? Like I'm trying to claim you. You're not. I don't want to. He paused. But the idea of you going out with someone else makes me feel jealous? He gave me a reluctant smile. Yeah. I looked down at my plate. What about women? What about them? Do you still want to date women? He thought about it. I don't know. That answer felt different this time. Not evasive. Honest. I've never questioned it before, he said. I've always just assumed I knew myself. He looked out the window. Then you happened. I smiled despite myself. I've been here the whole time. I know. That's the weird part. Yeah. We sat quietly for a moment. Then Austin reached across the table. His hand stopped beside mine. He didn't touch me immediately. Instead, he asked, "Is this okay?" I nodded. He took my hand. The simple contact made my chest tighten. He looked down at our fingers. I like this. So do I. He smiled. Then something unexpected happened. He leaned forward. I knew what he was about to do before he moved. My heart started pounding. Austin stopped inches away. He looked nervous. Can I kiss you? I could barely get the word out. Yes. He kissed me. It wasn't dramatic. There was no movie soundtrack. No fireworks. Just a soft, hesitant kiss between two people who had spent years pretending there wasn't something complicated between them. Then he pulled back. We stared at each other. Austin smiled. Okay. I laughed nervously. Okay? Yeah. You've got nothing else to say? No. He looked embarrassed. I've just spent the last 5 minutes trying not to freak out. I laughed. Why? Because I liked it. I squeezed his hand. You don't have to be scared of that. I know. He leaned closer again. This time, he kissed me without asking. And somehow, that second kiss felt completely different. More certain. When we finally pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine. I don't want this to be a secret. I looked at him. You're sure? Not about everything, he smiled. But about you? Yeah. My chest tightened. What happens now? He shrugged. We figure it out. Together? If you'll let me. I smiled. I think I can do that. The evening ended quietly. We walked around downtown, talking about nothing important. At some point, Austin took my hand again. He didn't let go. When he dropped me off, we sat in the car for several minutes. Neither of us seemed ready to leave. Finally, Austin looked at me. Carter? Yeah? I think I owe you an apology. For what? For making you pretend. I smiled. You didn't know. Still. He squeezed my hand. I should have realized sooner. I shook my head. You figured it out when you were ready. He smiled. Then he kissed me once more. This time, there was no hesitation. When I walked into my apartment, I stood against the closed door for a few seconds. I couldn't stop smiling. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Austin. Austin. One more thing. Me. What? His response came immediately. Austin. My parents invited us for Sunday lunch. I stared at the screen. Then another message appeared. Austin. I told them we'd come. I laughed out loud. Of course he did. But then a final message appeared. Austin. This time, I want to introduce you properly. And somehow, that scared me more than pretending ever had. Sunday lunch should have been easy. It wasn't. I spent the entire morning wondering what Austin meant when he said he wanted to introduce me properly. The phrase kept bothering me, because there was a big difference between saying, "This is Carter, my friend," and saying, "This is Carter," especially when his family already suspected there was something between us. Austin picked me up just before noon. When I got into the car, he immediately looked over. "You nervous?" "A little." "Me too." That actually made me laugh. "You're the one who invited me." "I know." "So, why are you nervous?" He started the car. "Because this feels real." I looked at him. He kept his eyes on the road. "I don't want to mess it up." My chest tightened. "You won't. You don't know that. I know you." He smiled. "That might be worse." The drive to his parents' house was quiet, but it wasn't uncomfortable. When we arrived, Austin parked and turned toward me. "Ready?" "No." "Good." We both laughed. He reached across the console and took my hand. This time, it didn't feel like an experiment. It didn't even feel new anymore. It just felt right. We walked to the front door together. His mother opened it almost immediately. "Finally!" She looked at our hands. Then she looked at Austin. Then at me. Her smile grew. "Oh." Austin laughed nervously. "Hi, Mom." She hugged him, then hugged me. "Come in." The lunch started normally. His father asked me about work. Emily talked about wedding plans. Austin kept stealing food from my plate. At one point, I caught him doing it for the third time. "You have your own. Yours tastes better." "That's because you didn't order it." His mother laughed. "You two already sound like an old married couple." Austin looked at me. I looked at him. Neither of us corrected her. That seemed to make everyone happy. After lunch, his father asked Austin to help him move something from the garage. I stayed in the kitchen with his mother and Emily. Emily waited until Austin was out of earshot. "So," I sighed. "Here we go." She laughed. "You really like him." I didn't know what to say. She continued. "Don't worry, I'm not judging you." "I know. And I'm not judging him either." I looked at her. "You knew?" "Before he did." I smiled. "That sounds about right." She leaned against the counter. "He's never been like this before." "Like what?" "Scared." That surprised me. He seems pretty confident. That's Austin. But when he actually cares about something, he gets terrified of screwing it up. I looked toward the garage. "He cares?" Emily gave me a look. "Carter." "What?" "He brought you here." I smiled. "Fair point." She lowered her voice. "Just don't let him run away because he's scared." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She shrugged. "I don't know. I'm just saying he's going to have moments where he questions everything." That doesn't scare me. It should. I laughed. "Thanks." She smiled. "I'm serious. Give him room, but don't let him convince himself that he doesn't feel what he feels." Before I could answer, Austin walked back into the kitchen. "What are you two talking about?" "Nothing," Emily said immediately. Austin narrowed his eyes. "That's suspicious." Emily smiled innocently. "I was just telling Carter embarrassing stories about you." Austin looked horrified. "You wouldn't?" "Oh, I would." I laughed. The afternoon went by quickly. Eventually, Austin's parents went outside, and Emily went upstairs to take a phone call. That left Austin and me alone in the living room. He sat beside me. "Did my sister say anything?" I smiled. "Maybe. That's never good." "She said you're scared." He sighed. "She's not wrong." I turned toward him. "What are you scared of?" He thought for a long time. "Losing you." I wasn't expecting that. "You're not going to lose me." What if I can't give you what you want? I frowned. What do you think I want? He looked at me. A relationship. Do you want one? He hesitated, then nodded. With you? My heart nearly stopped. He continued. I don't know what label fits me. I don't know if I need one right now. You don't. But I know what I feel when I'm with you. What? Safe. I smiled. He looked down at our hands. And happy. His voice got quieter. And jealous. I laughed softly. Definitely jealous. He smiled. Yeah. Then he looked at me. I don't want you pretending anymore. Neither do I. I want to date you. I stared at him. Are you sure? No. I raised an eyebrow. He laughed. I'm sure about you? I'm just still figuring out the rest. That was probably the most honest thing he'd ever said to me. So I nodded. That's enough. He smiled. Then he kissed me. It was slow and simple. When we pulled apart, we heard a voice behind us. Well? We both jumped. His father was standing in the doorway. Austin immediately turned red. Dad. His father smiled. Relax. I wanted to disappear. He walked over and sat in the chair across from us. I figured this was coming. Austin stared at him. You knew? His father shrugged. Your mother knew before I did. Austin covered his face. Oh my God. His dad laughed. Then he looked at me. For what it's worth, Carter, you're welcome here. I smiled. Thank you. He nodded. Then he looked at Austin. Just don't hurt him. Austin became serious. I won't. His father stood. Good. He walked away. Austin exhaled. That went better than expected. I laughed. Your family is surprisingly calm. They like you. I think they like you too. He smiled. Then his phone buzzed. He looked down. His expression changed. What? He didn't answer. I watched him read the message again. Who is it? He turned the phone toward me. It was a text from someone named Megan. I recognized the name. His ex-girlfriend. The message was short. We need to talk. It's important. Austin looked at me. I haven't talked to her in months. I nodded. Okay. I don't know why she's texting me now. I tried to stay calm. Then find out. He looked worried. I don't want this to become a problem. Maybe it won't. He squeezed my hand. I hope not. But as we left his parents' house that afternoon, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change, because Austin had finally stopped pretending, and now someone from his old life had suddenly appeared. Megan called Austin that night. I was sitting on my couch while he stood by the window, phone pressed against his ear. I couldn't hear everything she said, but I could hear enough to know the conversation wasn't casual. Austin's expression kept changing. First confusion, then frustration, then something I couldn't identify. Finally, he said, I'm seeing someone. My stomach tightened. He glanced at me. Yeah, it's serious. I looked away. A few seconds later, he said, No, Megan, that's not what this is about. Another pause. Then he sighed. Okay, I'll meet you tomorrow. My head snapped toward him. He ended the call. Tomorrow? He nodded. She wants to talk in person. About what? She wouldn't say. I tried to stay calm. Okay. Austin walked over and sat beside me. You're upset? No. You are? I sighed. A little? He looked hurt. Why? Because she's your ex? So? So she suddenly shows up right when we're starting something. He took my hand. Carter. I looked at him. She doesn't change anything. You don't know that. I do. How? Because I know what I want. That sentence should have made me feel better. Instead, it made me nervous. Then go talk to her. He nodded. But I'm coming back. I smiled. Good. The next afternoon, Austin met Megan at a coffee shop. I didn't go with him. I knew I shouldn't. Whatever happened between them was his business. Still, I spent the entire hour staring at my phone. Finally, a message arrived. Austin. Can I come over? I replied immediately. Me. Yes. He arrived about 20 minutes later. The moment I opened the door, I knew something had happened. What happened? He walked inside. She wants me back. My stomach dropped. Oh. She said she made a mistake. I nodded slowly. And I told her no. I looked at him. Really? He smiled. Really? Why? He came closer. Because I don't want to go backward. I didn't know what to say. He continued. She asked me if I was sure about you. What did you say? That I was. I felt something warm spread through my chest. Then Austin reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a small envelope. What is that? Something my mom gave me. He handed it to me. I opened it. Inside was a photograph. Austin and I, years earlier. We were standing outside our college dorms, both laughing at something. I barely recognized myself. Austin smiled. My mom found it in an old album. I looked at the picture. She said she'd always thought we were closer than normal friends. I laughed. She wasn't wrong. Austin sat beside me. She also said something else. What? That maybe I've known for a long time. I looked at him. Known what? That you were the person I wanted. I couldn't speak. Austin took my hand. I don't know exactly what I am. I nodded. I know. But I know who I want to be with. I squeezed his hand. Me? He smiled. You. For a while, neither of us said anything. Then he leaned in and kissed me. It felt different this time. There was no hesitation, no uncertainty, just Austin. When we pulled apart, he rested his forehead against mine. There's something else. What? I talked to my dad. About us? Yeah. I laughed. What did he say? He said if I'm serious about you, I should stop calling this an experiment. I smiled. That sounds like your dad. He's right. Austin took a breath. So? I want to make this official. My heart skipped. You mean? I want you to be my boyfriend. I stared at him. Are you sure? He smiled. I'm sure enough. I laughed. That is the most Austin answer possible. He kissed my forehead. I'm serious. I know. He squeezed my hand. I want you to come with me Friday. Where? My parents are having another family dinner. I groaned. Again? He laughed. This one's different. How? He looked at me. This time, I'm not introducing you as my date. I waited. He smiled. I'm introducing you as my boyfriend. I couldn't stop smiling. Okay. He leaned back against the couch. Okay. For the first time in weeks, everything felt simple. Until Friday night. Because when Austin and I arrived at his parents' house, his entire family was already waiting. His mother hugged me. Emily smiled. His father shook my hand. Everything seemed normal. Then Austin stood beside me, took my hand and said, Everyone, I want you to meet my boyfriend. The room went silent for half a second. Then his mother smiled. I knew it. Everyone laughed. Austin looked at me. I squeezed his hand. And for once, neither of us was pretending. But there was still one thing I didn't know. What would happen when Austin finally had to answer the question he'd been avoiding since the beginning? Not whether he wanted me. He clearly did. The question was what he wanted to call himself. and I knew that answer might change everything. The question came up 2 weeks later, and honestly, I was terrified of the answer. Austin and I had been together since that first family dinner. Not pretending, not hiding behind jokes, actually together. It wasn't perfect. There were awkward conversations. There were moments when Austin got quiet because he was still trying to understand himself. There were times when I wondered if I was asking too much simply by wanting certainty. But there were also good mornings, late night drives, his hand finding mine without either of us thinking about it, and the little things that mattered more than any label. Like the first time he introduced me to someone outside his family. My boyfriend Carter. No hesitation, no explanation, just those 2 words. I nearly smiled myself to death. One Friday night, we were sitting on my balcony, sharing takeout and watching cars move through the streets below. Austin was unusually quiet. I nudged his shoulder. "You're thinking too loudly." He laughed. "Sorry." "What is it?" He looked at me. "I've been thinking about what you asked me." "What did I ask?" "You asked what I wanted to call myself." I remembered. "And?" He took a breath. "I think I finally know." I waited. Austin looked down at his hands. I spent my whole life thinking I had to have an answer immediately. "You don't?" "I know that now." He looked at me. "But I've also realized something." "What?" "I don't think the label is the important part." I smiled. "What is?" "You." I rolled my eyes. He laughed. Then he became serious again. "I still don't know exactly what label fits me. Maybe someday I will. Maybe I won't." I nodded. "And that's okay. But I know I'm attracted to you." My heart skipped. "I know I'm in love with you." I stared at him. He smiled nervously. "And I know that when I imagined my life before you, I thought I knew exactly what it would look like." He took my hand. Now I can't imagine going back to that version. I squeezed his fingers. "You don't have to." He leaned toward me. "I love you, Carter." I smiled. "I love you too." He kissed me. Nothing dramatic happened. No magical moment. No sudden transformation. Just 2 people sitting on a balcony in the middle of an ordinary Friday night, finally saying out loud what had been growing between them for years. A few days later, his family had another dinner. His mother was cooking. His father was arguing with Emily about the wedding playlist. Austin and I arrived together. This time, nobody asked whether we were dating. Nobody needed to. Austin walked inside with his arm around my shoulders. His mother smiled. "There's my favorite couple." Austin laughed. "Your only couple?" "Exactly." Everyone sat down. Halfway through dinner, his mother looked at us. "I have to admit something." Austin sighed. "Mom." She laughed. When Austin first told me he was bringing Carter as his date, I knew immediately. I looked at her. Knew what? That he wasn't pretending as much as he thought he was. Austin looked embarrassed. His dad laughed. Emily pointed at him. "I told you." Austin shook his head. "You people are impossible." Everyone laughed. I looked across the table at him. He caught my eye. And I remembered that first night, the nervous drive, the fake story we'd invented, the awkward hand-holding, the moment in the kitchen when he admitted it didn't feel fake. Back then, I'd been terrified to believe him. Now I didn't have to. After dinner, Austin and I stepped outside. The evening was cool and quiet. He took my hand. "You know what's funny?" "What?" "If you hadn't said yes that night, none of this would have happened." I smiled. "You're right." "You almost said no?" "Of course." He looked shocked. "Seriously?" You were asking me to pretend to be your boyfriend." He laughed. "Fair." Then he pulled me closer. "I still think it was the best stupid idea I've ever had." I smiled. "Mine too." He kissed me. And that's basically how my straight friend became my boyfriend. Although, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think the dinner was what changed anything. I think it just gave Austin an excuse to stop running from something that had been there for a while. He had spent years believing he knew exactly who he was supposed to be. Then, one ordinary family dinner forced him to look at himself differently. And me? I finally stopped pretending I didn't love my best friend. I still don't know what Austin will eventually call it. Maybe he'll choose a label. Maybe he'll choose something else. Maybe he'll decide labels aren't important. But I do know one thing. The guy who once asked me to be his fake date now gets annoyed when I introduce him as anything less than my boyfriend. And every time we go to a family dinner, his mother still gives me that knowing smile, like she knew the whole time. Maybe she did. Maybe everyone did except us. Either way, I'm glad I said yes. Because sometimes the strangest invitations turn into the most important decisions of your life. And sometimes the person asking you to pretend they're your date is actually asking you for something much bigger, a chance to find out what the two of you could become.